webinar on AP platform, our AP automation platform, which is probably more geared towards people who have played with RPA before and are interested in specific solutions. And then in October, we're going to do really kind of more of a business strategy sessions. We have 5 of them planned, really, that are going to take you through how to implement this from an enterprise level. If you have questions at the end, please feel free to raise your hand, and we will get to as many questions as we can within the time frames allowed. So for today, by the way, I'm Tommy Simon, Chief Strategy Officer for Team International. If you're not familiar with Team International, we are a global company. We have operations in U.S., South America, and Europe. Ukraine, Poland, and Medellin, Colombia are our 3 big delivery centers, and we provide really digital transformation services. If you look at it from a UI UX customer experience through platforms and software development into RPA and really enterprise automation of all kinds, and then last is intelligence. So if you put all that together, you can drive digital transformation through your industry. So we're going to focus mostly on enterprise automation with these series, right, for this series of webinars. And we hope that it's helpful for you. If you would like to ask any questions, ask here, or you can email us after the session, and we will have somebody address whatever questions you may have. So today we're going to have Sammir and Daniel. Daniel runs our operations center and for managed services in Medellin, Colombia. And then Sammir, in his nice tie there, is our RPA Global Delivery Lead. So Daniel is a Agile expert. He is a expert at really customer experience and how to deliver that, and also has a lot of experience in managing large teams. Sammir comes from EY, and then after that Black & Decker, and where he's been an RPA lead and really one of the more innovative people that I've worked with in my time with Team. He's an entrepreneurial spirit. He figures out how to create solutions that fit our clients' needs. And so I'm going to let the 2 of them take it from here and do the presentation today. So Daniel, Sammir, you're on.
Thank you for that, Tommy. So I'll be kicking it off. So hi everyone. I'm not gonna reintroduce myself, but I just wanted to say again, my name is Daniel, and I'll be explaining, or I'll be participating in this, framing what RPA has been in our experience with our clients, and the basic concepts around RPA. So this is not going to be so much of a tool comparison or vendor comparison, that kind of discourse. This is more about, okay, before you actually jump into this amazing technology, what is it that you actually need to know, right? It's like when you're going to buy a new iPhone or a new device or whatever, you want to see it first, right? You want to preview. So this is sort of that framing that preview for your benefit, right? Sort of like before you buy kind of, or before you start kind of video. So Sammir, why don't we go ahead with the first those cool pictures of you and me, but let's start with the first one. So what is robotics process automation, right? Basically, I think at the most basic level, Gartner defines it really well as a productivity tool, right? The main goal, I think, for our clients in our experience has been precisely that, increased productivity, and we're going to see a list of side benefits that we've been able to encounter through our journey, right? But just following along the thumbnail's definition, would say that allows a user to configure 1 or more scripts, which some vendors refer as bots, which is a more commonly known term, to activate specific keystrokes and in an automated fashion. So it's basically replacing, and Tommy always says it that this way, is replacing keystrokes, right? Replacing clicks at the most basic level of an implementation, right? So following along, the results is that the bots can be used to mimic or emulate selected tasks, transcription steps within an overall business or IT process, right? So any kind of process that you can think of that follows a certain rules or that is rule based, we can actually automate those clicks, those keystrokes, that sequence of events using RPA, right, at the most basic level. So these kind of actions could include manipulating data, right, passing data from one system to another, or even within different systems, triggering responses to events and executing transactions as well. So I guess this is a good opening for or framing for what RPA is. Let's go to the next one. So what is it, what is and what is not? This is really always a cool slide to present because it actually gives context and also discards whatever notion or maybe myths are around RPA. So I will start with what it is, right? So basically what we discussed in the previous slide, which is basically a set of virtual bots or robots, right, that actually executes repetitive and in organizations normally known as the tedious tasks that employees have to do, right? Automation of repetitive tasks is the key or the heart of the matter here, right? Enhancement of human workforce. So this is sort of counterintuitive, but it's really what we have seen with our clients. I'm going to explain that in the next slide, but it really helps employees focus on more entertaining and more exciting tasks than the ones they have to do in the day-to-day activities without RPA, right? And business focus solution. This is also something that we're going to discuss further about connecting the business goals that we have with the automation that we're going to actually deploy or implement. All right. So that's on the column of what it is. What is not a physical robot. It actually may be confusing because once you talk about bots or robots, you might tend to think that, but it's not really it's a digital workforce, the way that I like to refer to it. So it's not a physical robot. It does not replace human workforce, right? And is not just about cost reduction. I'm not saying there is not cost reduction, but that's not the only real measure of success that we can see with RPA. Okay. So on the next one, I'd like to frame this one as, okay, and right there on the top is sort of the practices that we see that RPA is great at, right? So is streamlining the process. So whatever process you have in place, the first thing you do is find optimizations to that process, and then you can actually go and automate that process that is currently being done by an employee, right? Um, Given that you're automating that process, the tasks that you assign the bot to do will always be done in the same way, following the rules. So compliance will always be there as part of that automation. Okay. And obviously reducing the error rates, right? Especially in this case of task where you actually have to go from system to system, from one screen to another, opening stuff. We get tired as normal employees, and things can affect us. These bots, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment, can actually run without that kind of error or mistakes that can happen due to tiredness or the kind of factors outside of the work itself, right? There are other elements there that you can read through and you can ask me about later, but I think highlighting those are the ones that really encompass the definition or the benefits of RPA. Just running through real quick, 24/7 operations. The bots can work, don't work in shifts or anything. They can actually operate 24/7. The accuracy, connecting to what I was just mentioning, is 99+%. There are always exceptions in processes, always things that can come up, but those can also be fixed, right? 600% on productivity and 20 times faster, because obviously the bot doesn't need to, I mean, it can operate everything in a very fast way, especially when we're talking about maybe managing Excel, spreadsheets, that kind of stuff that is very common in a company. That's also things that can be addressed as a benefit. Okay, so let's jump to the next one. Okay, so can RPA help you, right? And we wanted to put here sort of the decision makers within the company, right? But this obviously trickles down to the rest of the operation. So if we're talking about CFO, we're talking about benefits in operating in the operating cost of the company. If we're talking about CEO, we're talking about margin reduction, margin increase. Sorry. If we're talking about COO, this tool is towards, as I said in the beginning, connecting the dots here a little bit. It goes towards productivity. Okay, from an HR perspective, also it helps keep your team motivated so that they don't have to do this tedious and repetitive task, which actually follows mistakes and stuff like that that can revert back to them in a negative way, right? And from a CIO perspective, this brings a lot of compliance to the IT kind of spectrum, because it's always operating in the same way. It's something that can be completely hosted and managed, and it's also tradable and auditable. Okay, so in terms of compliance, it's also something that can be of assistance for the IT world. So again, productivity, margin, um, increasing the security as well, and then employees that are motivated to do tasks that are real challenging for them. So that's framing the if whether or not the question of whether or not RPA can help you. Okay, let's go to the next. And
Thank you, Danny.
yeah.
Yeah, one of the kind of the other questions that we want to solve or to discuss about over this webinar is about what do you need to get started with RPA. And we want to frame here that before even getting started in RPA, there are three things that you need to know, right? That you need to do before you jump into this journey, right? And the first one is know your business. So before even getting to automate one or two, three process, whatever, you will need to know your process, get to know what are the goals that are driving the company. You know, is it revenue? Is it cutting costs? Is it, you know, increasing customer services? Um, that's gonna be something that you will need to know, or that an organization actually will need to know before jumping into automation right away, right? Getting to know your business, your goals, it's going to allow you to connect that to processes and that to activities, and then you're going to be able to identify what of those activities are the ones that actually make sense for you to automate. The second thing is we wanted to call it that kind of dream big and start small. It's a lot of people focus just on the last one, right? On start small. Okay, let's start with something. Let's do a POC. And everyone wants to do a POC, and everyone wants to do a shiny object, you know, going after the golden object, or a quick win or low hanging fruit. But then they are done with that, and they say, okay, yeah, we were able to do it. It's possible, but what now? And then, you know, uh, it's gonna be stuck for even months because you were not kind of dreaming big since the beginning, right? So uh, a lot of times what companies focus on is finding that one opportunity, and that's all what they care. And what we have seen with our clients is that sometimes leads them to do something great, something very good, that it was possible, that it brought benefits, but that didn't take the organization or the team towards the achievement of the goals that they have. Okay, so that's how we're connecting the dots here. And then the third one, it's kind of don't buy the RPA, and we put that in kind of very quoting that, because it's not something that, you know, it's not a new application that you're gonna buy and that, no, you can now use it and on a daily basis. Is something that is gonna take, you know, time. It's gonna take effort. And even though if you don't develop RPA itself, um even if you have a partner that does it for you, you also require to build that, to build how are you gonna be interacting with that partner, what the partner is gonna be working on, and so on. So those are kind of the three things that, you know, maybe there are more, but these were the ones that we wanted to highlight for you, in order to, again, before even getting started, before doing that first step, you know, you evaluate, you know, the conditions, evaluate your current state before jumping into something. Right? We have find, you know, a lot of people, a lot of clients that say, we try RPA, but it didn't work for us, or we tried a couple of years ago, the technology wasn't good at that time. And to be honest, although it has improved, technology was capable of doing the same stuff that we are doing today. In most of the scenarios, right? We were doing keystrokes, as Daniel said, keystrokes and clicking and typing. All that thing has been always kind of the core or the basic functions of RPA. And we start talking with those clients about that, and it's because they thought, buying the licenses of an RPA product was gonna be it, right? They thought that we're gonna buy a license, and that license was already, built out and doing stuff for them, which it's not the reality. So those are the three things to get started. Now, now that you have started, now that you actually have made the decision, that you know your business, that you are sure that this is something that you want to do, then what we are suggesting here, or what we are replying to that answer is, you should know, where you're going, right? And that it's very connected to know your business, right? When you have a business, you understand your business. When you know what are the strategic goals, and you map that out, in operational, in tactical, in task goals, then you can create a roadmap that is going to guide you through this journey. So very important. Don't forget about the roadmap. That's going to be one big thing. The second thing that you should know is that there will be lessons to be learned, right? There is always going to be hiccups. There's always going to be things that are going to go in the wrong direction, or they're not going to deliver as much benefit as you will expect. And that's okay. That's totally okay. And I think that will apply not only for RPA, but all the other, digital transformation journeys or initiatives that are going on. You have to be, you have to encourage failure. Some of the things, again, are not going to deliver what you expect, but it's going to be something that, is going to help you to do other initiatives as well. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing will be that even though an automation can be done in weeks, right? We have, most of the projects in RPA can be done within 3 weeks, within 4 weeks. That doesn't mean that that's it, right? That the journey doesn't require anything else. And the truth, and what you should know, is that, again, even though that first project will take 3 weeks, building and creating a momentum within the organization and creating a change in the mindset will be taking months or maybe even years, right? Depending of the organization and how do you handle that. But the journey is a long-term commitment, right? It's gonna require you to think, okay, now that we have this bot that was done in 3 weeks, okay, now as an organization, how do we work with this bot, right? Do we keep training people to do this process now that the bot does it? Those questions may start arising, and you should know that you have to be prepared for that, right? You need to know that RPA, it's a longer term relationship. It's not just a 3 weeks project and that's it. And then the last thing, and we are gonna be talking about this maybe a little bit later with Daniel, or I don't know if you're gonna jump in right now, but it's how to measure success, right? And we put that a question there, like, is it only ROI, right? We have seen, and that's a trend in this business, and it's that, okay, how many hours are we gonna save? How many yeah, how many more transactions can we do? And we have to make sure that if that's the driver, and that's okay to be the only driver for the organization, but then you will need to know how you are going to be measuring that ROI, right? It's going to be, are you going to measure that by the number of transactions? Are you going to be measured that by the value that that person is going to generate in other department? How are you actually going to measure the ROI? But that's, again, that's just one of the things. You will need to know how do you want to measure the success of the journey, right? Most of our cases. Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, I thought you were going to jump to the next one. So before maybe we do that, I wanted to emphasize here, because the message that we want to get through is this is exciting. I mean, don't get us wrong. We this is an exciting journey. I mean, and the fail fast sort of quote that in Agile we use. Tommy was introducing me as an Agile champion. Maybe that was an overstatement, but but the fail fast culture really plays in here. I mean, it is we need to get the big picture right, the roadmap as we point out, but also getting that excitement and that momentum as Sammir was describing is really important to do those short-term sort of engagements of 2 or 3 weeks kind of approach to delivering something valuable that can get buy-in within your company to fulfill that roadmap or that vision that you have. So connecting those two worlds is key also for moving forward. So that's just what I wanted to add there.
Thank you, Danny. And yes, I just wanted to add in the how to measure is that again you will need to know other ways to measure the success, right? Is that going to be compliant? Is going to be better compliance, better analytics? Is that going to be a reduced time on a service level agreement, for example? That's something that again we encourage everyone here to take a step within the journey and put that in place. For the ones that are interested and maybe getting to know more about what Danny was saying, fast fail fast, and what mistakes or what mistakes are done starting the RPA journey. We're going to have a webinar later in October. Tommy is going to be joining another director of robotics that they're going to be talking and chatting about why RPA fails to reach its full potential, and they're going to be talking about common mistakes when getting started. So if you want to follow up on that, I think at the end Tatiana is going to be showing you how to do that. Okay, next slide is what roles you need to begin the RPA journey. Okay, and we put in that order because we understand that that's the order of, I will say, how critical they are, right? So the first thing that you will need within the organization is an engaged and sponsor, right? Sorry for that sound. You will need an engaged sponsor, right? So what we mean with that is an sponsor within the organization that not only provides the funding, right? Not only approves the project, not only approves the money to be spent. You'll need a sponsor that actually it becomes convinced about what you're doing and why you're doing stuff, and that the sponsor can be become an evangelist of the journey, right? Of what we are doing with RPA within the organization, and that sponsor can be a CFO, can be a CIO, or it can be a manager, right? It doesn't have to be the president of the company all the time, but that person is going to be very important to actually talk with the leadership, talk with the operational teams, and that the more engaged that sponsor is, the most likely is going to be that RPA is going to be successful within your company. And then the second thing, there will be encouraged process owners. So people like the operational team, the people on the processes, the people that we are trying to automate their activities to, they shouldn't feel attacked. They shouldn't feel that, oh, they are trying to automate this because they want to get rid of me. Those process owners, those team leads, those processors, analysts, whatever their role is, they should be encouraged to come to RPA and start playing a role. Let me know about your process. Remember that I told you about knowing your business. Sometimes when you're in a leadership position, you know where you're going and what's the direction, but when you go to your process owners and the people that actually have the day-to-day activities, then you understand okay, where I am right now, not only where I'm going. So getting to know them, getting to know what they're struggling with, make them feel appreciated and part of this, right? We don't want them just to tell us what to do, what they do, and that's it. No, what do you want? How do you envision this? What things have you dream of you know, tell us your wildest dreams. Maybe we can make them true. So you want encourage process owners. And the third point there is the process improvement specialist, the passionate process improvement specialist. And we actually think that that's even more important than the engineering team. And we are an engineering team, don't take me wrong. But having here's how we pose this to our clients all the time. RPA actually it's more about technology and more about automation. It's about process improvement. And Daniel on the second slide, he was talking about, you know, one of the benefits is streamlining the process. And we believe that, you know, and this has happened to us countless times, is that we go to I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We go to a client, we start talking about this XYZ process, and when we start finding out, you actually need to automate this? You know, why don't you, you know, move these pieces around? Why don't you change? You know, instead of sending everyone an email, why don't you create a form? You know, why don't you do this first, right? We don't want to automate an inefficiency. We don't want to automate a process that it's no well designed, you know. So we most of the times we ended up as technology providers or technology service providers, we ended up doing consulting, right? We try to improve the process and the way, and as Tommy said, an industrial engineer, and so I'm very process focused. And Deming was saying that if you don't standardize a process and you cannot control a process, if you cannot measure a process, if you cannot control that process, and if you cannot control that process, you cannot improve that process. And I add one more piece there, and is, you know, after you improve the process, then you can automate. So that's kind of the journey, and every time that we do it, we always review the process and make sure that, you know, the future state of that project, it's not an automation of the inefficiency, but it's an automation, it's a new process, right? It's a complete different level. And then the last thing, of course, you will need an engineering team, right? But it's in that order, right? You cannot go and hire one developer or hire a partner and say, hey, come here and find what to automate and do whatever you want. Because the engineering team, it's good of, you know, when you bring that dream of the future state, the engineering team is going to make that happen, right? It's going to make that a reality. And, you know, they're going to be very well equipped to do that. They are, you know, they will be experts on how to solve the problems, but you will need to guide them, and you will need to tell them what you need to do and where you want to get. So that's the reason we put in kind of in that order, because we believe that you know, by having first an encourage sponsor, and then engage sponsor and encourage process owner and passionate specialist, then your journey is going to be more successful. Okay, so that's on this slide. I think Danny, I think you're gonna jump in here, right?
Yep. Yep. Thank you. So yeah, real good stuff on the roles that you need to start. I think on that order that we sort of discussed while preparing for this webinar is really key. I mean, keeping in mind that is something that will really be helpful. I mean, mapping your processes, identifying the value, identify what processes are broken, what processes are working, will be beneficial to actually pick and start and prioritize once you actually onboard an engineering team or a developer to actually start doing the automation. Okay, so and I think a conversation that derives from that is precisely this, right? 3 ways to get started with automation quickly. Again, when we say quickly, is again obviously having in mind that roadmap, that dream, that vision, right? But executing also what you have to do in the present. So 3 real ways in-house. This is very, I think, self-explanatory. Is basically you could create a COE, a Center of Excellence for automation, and then you hire and you start bringing in the roles that we described earlier as an independent function within your company, right? And then after you do some of the study or some of the strategy outline for your automation program, then you actually start bringing more and more engineering teams to actually develop the automation and deliver, right? That's one way to go, right? The other way to go is to completely trust a partner or a third party to actually develop your automation for you, right? This is basically the case where you actually go and hire a company, and then that company can actually deliver the automation. On this side, on this option, what we advise always is having, in any case, at least the roles that we described earlier. Most of them have them internally, right? Obviously, aside from the engineering team, because that will be most of what the third party is going to bring on. But you still need to have some of those roles internally, or some of them at least shared, right? Make sure it is a partnership rather than just I buy the product from you, as Sammir was explaining earlier. And then we have the mixed option, right? Which is where we sort of, okay, part of the job is being done, and we also share the risk, right? And in the implementation, so sort of, okay, we or me as a company, I do the design, I study the processes, I identify what's best, I establish the roadmap, along with a consultant, right? That can help me identify the processes that are broken, the processes that are more sort of bot friendly. It's another term that we use. So that kind of partnership is, at least in our experience, I think what works best, right? And having that mixed option in there allows you also to keep you focus on delivering on your mainstream product or your mainstream function, right? And having some help in automating these tasks that you consider valuable to be automated, right? So it's sort of a mixture where you still govern the process, but you're getting a lot of help from a good and responsible partner. So I think that describes those three options. Obviously, feel free to prepare any questions for it, but I think that's enough for this one, Sam.
I didn't realize I was mute. No, I was gonna add as well that within the in-house or any of these, if you are gonna encourage or you're gonna incorporate citizen development, I mean, you can also do that as well if that's part of your plan. Citizen developer, if someone is not familiar with that, is encouraging the same users, the end users, to actually start automating their own tasks. So in any of those approach on either in-house or third party or mix, if you're going to be encouraging that, you will need to make sure that they are following your guidelines, and they are following your, what's the name of this, the leading practices, the development leading practices, and your standards. Okay, so that's just one more thing to add there. And then the last questions that we want to answer over this webinar and is what do you need to thrive, right? What do you need to be successful with RPA in your organization? And we have listed out kind of these 6 bullet points. And we try to, again, this is based on the experience that we had seen with our clients. We had successful clients. We had clients that had failed in the past, that had struggled to do RPA in the way their expectations were set, right? So okay, let's jump right into it. So it's going to be, the first thing is keep it business led, but partner with IT. So this is important because the business have to decide and has to assign the priority, has to define what actually needs to be automated and when, right? The business should be making those decisions, but you have to make sure that you're partnering with IT. And there is 2 reasons. Okay, there may be more, but the 2 reasons that I want to highlight is, first, because you cannot do things without IT. First one and foremost is that you will need IT to provide you, accesses, accounts, environments. You'll need to work with IT to find out, all that stuff. And the second thing, and the second reason, and I think Daniel is going to be talking about that more in detail in the 4th bullet point, is that you need to partner with IT because you need to know what as well IT has planned to work with that applications that you want to automate, for example, you need to know what IT is planning to do. So if you partner with them, if you say, hey, please get me access um, to the SAP, just to give you an example, because I want to automate running a report every day. So, that can be your business case, and that's a huge thing that you do, and blah, blah, blah. If you just ask them for the access, and they can provide it to you, right? But if you partner with them, you share your information, you share with them, hey, why you're doing this, you may end up, having a great discussion about saying, you know what, why you want to do that with RPA? We can run this report in the backend and I don't know, dump it into a shared location every day at 7 a.m. Okay, so just one conversation, you already save maybe a week of development, or you already save a whole project of, you don't need that project any longer, because then you partner with IT. And one of the things that you need to know is that, and maybe I'm overstepping over what Daniel is going to say, but anyways, but you need to know that at the end, it doesn't matter if that was RPA or that was IT. What it matters is that the outcome benefits the organization. So that's where we say keep it business led, but partner with IT. And the second thing, I think I have been repeating myself over the measure of the success, but you really need to measure success if you want to thrive, right? How you're gonna know if you're successful if you're not measuring that, if you don't have goals, if you don't have metrics to prove that, right? You can say, no, we have 20 bots, and you can say, yeah, we automated 20 bots, we have 20 processes already automated. Is that already tell you that you're successful? Or is it going to be what's the value? Or is it going to be how many complaints, what's the reduction on the complaints, what's the reduction on the over cost, or the extra hours that the team was working? You need to know, again, how to measure success, because that's the only way you're going to have to eh, know first that you're successful, and second, to show your leadership that you are being successful with RPA. Revisit roadmap. That's something that, of course, Daniel it's about to jump in here, because the roadmap, he always has a roadmap for everything. Even one day I went to his house and he had a roadmap of what they need to do for that month with his wife. So I will let Daniel then take it from here.
Yeah. Thank you for giving that example, by the way. Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I do think having that navigation chart, it's important, right? To know if you are actually being successful, to know what comes next, and to be ready and prepared. So, revisiting that roadmap at least once a month. I'm just putting a month as an example, as a placeholder, because it will depend on the cadence of sprints or iterations in which you actually want to deliver your automation program. To me, it's key for this development, for this kind of thing. So revisiting that roadmap, making sure that it is still valid for the priorities, for the market conditions, for the business goals. Every company has like strategy mapping every 1 year, or every 6 months, or every quarter. So making sure that this roadmap matches, right, those business goals, those revisited business goals. So that strategy, that overall strategy, to me is key. Otherwise, it's like your company is going in one direction, and then you with your automation program is going in, maybe going in a different direction. So it's really important to revisit it for that reason, and also for technical reasons, right? Make sure that the technical viability and feasibility of what you're doing is right, and it's on track, right? Avoid a siloed journey, right? So this is key. I mean, normally there are a lot of companies that are doing digital transformation programs. So when we talk about digital transformation, we talk about also trending technologies. RPA is one of them, right? But we also have advanced analytics. We have data scientists. We have a lot of things that are flying around right now. IoT, other kind of technologies that also are aiming at helping companies grow and be more productive. So in that sense, this RPA journey is just one piece of the puzzle, right? So you need to make sure that whatever it is that you're automating, does not conflict or does not overlap, rather would be the best word for it, with another initiative that is also being driven by maybe another department within the company, right? So just make sure that your piece of the puzzle, your automation program, is part of an overall technology and innovation strategy. That's also, I think, a factor that you really need to actually thrive in your automation journey. So that being said, we cannot get also distracted from operating our day-to-day business, right? So that's where you actually need to choose between the delivery options that we presented earlier on finding the right partner. But I don't know, Sam, do you want to add more on those two last points,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah, for sure. We have seen, when we say don't get distracted from your business, end up being a several set of things, right? So, we have seen companies that, within the digital transformation, now they want to go and have a website with that they can have, I don't know, sales over website, and then they end up kind of having and doing that initiative just because we have to have that, or we have to have on Instagram web page, and they start to get a lot of things that maybe even doesn't get in their business, right? Do you actually, if you're a mining company, for example, do you actually want to sell stuff over? Can you sell stuff over the website? So again, maybe I'm making very odd examples, but just to make the point, because we have seen that many times. So don't get distracted from your business. It's okay to have digital transformation programs. It's okay to have RPA programs within the organization, and you should have. Of course we are gonna say that, and we believe it, but you cannot get distracted from your business, right? What's your business? Is gonna be, and what I mean with business is actually not only the whole company, but also about the team, right? Are you automating a finance project? Okay, are you gonna go through all the accounting processes and automating a lot of them? Okay, what's the business of the accounting pro? No, it's ensuring that the data is correct, that the statements are true, that everything is recorded and classified in the right way. Okay, so you have to keep that in your business. You cannot go and start automating stuff that doesn't help you to accomplish your business goals as an operational level, right? And the second thing is that if you then have a bunch of projects within the accounting stuff, and then the accounting team is working here with the citizen developer or with the engineering team to automate one of the journal entries, posting whatever process they have, then what time they're gonna have to do their own stuff. So again, don't get distracted from your business. Plan that ahead, right? Visit the roadmap and find the right partner. Again, um, I am not a firm believer of the citizen development approach, because again, that distracts the users from what they actually need to do. But it's a complete valid approach for several companies, that it has been successful for many companies. So, but anyways, on the way we see and the way we have interact with our clients, if they keep the focus on their business, they're gonna achieve their goals. What they can do is find the right partner, and we claim and we believe to be the right partner for our clients. But there are also clients that they may require other needs on the partner, right? Do you want the partner to have a focus on implementing COEs? Okay. Do you have to want a partner that helps you, that teach you how to do stuff, or do you want a partner that actually does the stuff for you and then it helps you to try? So again, define what your strategy gonna be, and then find the right partner according to what your expectations are. And again, I don't think that one partner that can fit all. I have seen that in my previous jobs as well. That sometimes you may have even one or two or three different partners according to your needs. However, this is going to be a very important decision. Even though you do this internally and completely internal, in-house, you have your own developers, you need to find the right partner that can help you on that side, right? You don't want to be a silo or an island that you don't know what is going on in other places because you're too focused just on developing your stuff. having a partner that can time to time come to you and say, hey, look, think this differently. Hey, are you already trying this new trend that is out there? We have tested out. We can teach you how to do that. So even though you want to do that internally, finding the right partner to that will be a very important decision to make. Okay, so I think we believe that this is going to be top 6 things that can help you thrive in your journey. Of course, as we have explained before, there may be more. We wanted to highlight this based on the experience that we had with our clients. Okay, so I think we are now going to open for Q&A. So I don't know if you Tatiana, are you going to be taking over from here? How are we going to be doing the Q&A?
Or anyone that can feel free to raise a hand and start speaking, that's fine. Any questions?
You can actually as well, if you feel more comfortable by writing those questions on the chat as well.
The chat, yep.
Feel free to do that as well. The idea is that if something, if you need us to maybe elaborate a little bit more on something or revisit something of the things that we went through today, just let us know. We're happy to answer those questions. And if not, then we can move on. Right. So I'm gonna go on anyways, just to wrap up the call. Anyways, if you have questions,
There is one question from Michelle, if I'm pronouncing that right. So let me just phrase the question. She just posted it here in the chat. Sorry to cut you off. Do you have a common process companies start in this journey? Is her question. You want to go first? Yep.
Maybe I mean I don't know if you understood correctly, but it's kind of what are the common processes to automate kind of in the beginning. I would say that yes, of course, most of there are kind of some instructions about what to automate first, and that it's based on how repetitive the process is, if that is rule based or not, the volume of the transactions that it's performed by that process. So those are the things that you can highlight. We may be start saying a lot of processes in the finance spectrum will apply for that. A lot of accounting because they have rules. However, there's not that there's going to be one process that is going to be the same in every company. So we can tell you, I know bank reconciliations is a very common process. Okay, not only bank reconciliations in general. Getting a report from one place, getting a report from another place, and then produce an outcome out of that. That is a very common process that we have seen almost in every client that we have. But again, in one client that's bank reconciliation, in other is accounts payable reconciliation, in other is accounts receivable reconciliation. So that's one of the most common processes. But the idea is again that you look internally first, saying what the companies are, what the processes are, and then even with our help, if you want to, we can start doing the discovery of all those processes to get started with. Daniel, do you want to add something?
Oh, I think you covered quite nicely. Yeah, there are trending topics in everything, as this is not the exception, to be honest. So yeah, I think financial. If we were to evaluate Sammir, the commonality across our customers will be on the financial kind of invoice automation, kind of ERP, HR. A lot of use cases also for RPA. So. Onboarding, offboarding, that kind of those kind of use cases are common across companies because here's the thing: most of those processes apply to all companies, right? Like HR, finance, those kind of back office operational activities are common across, and most of the companies, as those processes are not part of their like core business, right? They are normally not like empowered through a lot of technology, but rather in manual steps or manual activities that are performed. So that's where normally we encounter the common pain points to be addressed. I think
Yep,
that would be.
and that's I mean,
Yeah.
just to add one more thing, that doesn't mean that we cannot start with a core process, right? We have a big presence in healthcare, and the first process that we automate sometimes are completely, specialized, on the healthcare industry. So we have been doing stuff for medical coding, for imaging recognition, and medical document classification and indexing. So there is not a rule that applies everyone, every single thing. But yes, as Daniel said, it's very common that the finance pros are kind of the first thing that come to the table. However, Michelle, and for the rest of the team, the rest of the guests that we have, one of the things that we also hoping to get, and if you want to, start reviewing what you want to do and how do you want to get started, just shoot us an email, shoot us a note. And the idea is that we can, set up an individual call in which Danny and our pre-sales engineers can start showing you, what RPA can do, right? We didn't cover that today in today's webinar, but those things we can schedule a call, individually. You can bring your team, you can bring your leadership, whoever you want to bring to that call, and then we show different bots in action, and we start again kind of doing that learning, right, with you, and teaching you what it can be done. And then after that, what we do is we usually start with kind of a feasibility study in which we go on and start reviewing your processes, and then do business case on top of that, and say, and based on these value drivers for you, you can get started with this while you set up the roadmap, right, of the things that you want to do as an organization. So again, anyone feel free to just send us an email, sending us a note. I see that here on the call as well, we have Sandra, Luisa, we have different of our sales executives. So, feel free to reach out to any one of us, and we will be setting that up for you. And Dana Villa, thank you so much for the note.
Yep.
And we really hope that this was helpful for you. And again, this was, as Daniel said in the beginning, this was addressed for the audience for this, as we believe was kind of, how to get started, kind of, a lot what we see on the industry or on this business, that a lot of people try to push you towards, let's buy a license, buy this, let's engage for 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Kind of, pushing you towards that. But we wanted to give this kind of reflection for you guys to think, to evaluate the things before actually making a decision. So we really hope this was helpful.
Yeah, and just to add to that, go to the next slide. Obviously, if there are more questions, feel free to put them in as we discuss, as we talk. So this obviously we didn't want to spoil, right, anything for the next ones in terms of kind of demos and stuff like that. But definitely, I do encourage you guys to check out the next ones that are coming. Those are more oriented to actually more tangible that than maybe something that we show today, which was basically the goal of today was to get you excited. And also, if you're thinking about this, or even if you already went through the automation journey, say, hey, yeah, that also happened to me, this also happened to me. So we also can empathize a little bit on our experiences. Vasil is asking, sorry, Vasil, if I'm not pronouncing that name right, but it's asking if we are going to share the slides. Tatiana, I think we are, right? But just want to make sure. Yeah, or you can answer.
I think we are, right, Tatiana?
Yeah. Hi,
Okay.
guys. Yeah, we will send the audio to all the participants and the presentation. Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds great.
Yeah, and we are gonna have this kind of a weekly webinars. I mean, they're gonna be talking about different stuff. Sometimes it's gonna be about RPA. It's gonna be about other topics as well. So we encourage you, to join the ones that are the interest for you, and that you spread the word as well for other people that are thinking about, getting started on RPA. And I will end that. Then, I mean, if there is no other questions or comment, then just, guys, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much for the
Thank you,
opportunity,
guys.
for
Thank you
the
very
time.
much. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye bye.
Have a good day. Bye bye.